Hello, and welcome back to Mystic Motivation, a podcast for witchy women on their spiritual self growth journeys. In this episode, we're going to talk about why waiting for signs sometimes keeps you stuck. Speaking as a person who loves signs, who constantly sees them, who communicates with the universe. The time is 1, 2, 3 as I say that. But sometimes seeking signs, seeking external validation too much can keep us stuck in our journeys, where we really never learn how to make a spiritual decision that creates the path we desire. So we're going to deep dive into this whole topic. There's aspects you'll probably relate to and other aspects you don't. But I truly believe that this message can help move you forward in a much more empowered way, where there's no more of a feeling of stuckness in your journey, where you feel like you want to be in a flow state, you want to just trust the universe, but you feel so much resistance inside of you. We're going to talk about how to reclaim our power from that. So before we dive into it, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on future videos. This also helps push me around to other witches who may need to hear this message. But let's jump straight into it. It may sound funny to say it out loud, but I definitely know I've had this thought cross my mind a few times in my journey, where I would think to myself, I'm on a spiritual path, but why do I feel like I'm stuck, that I have no direction, that I'm not receiving signs, that there's no feeling of confirmation within my intuition of where I'm supposed to go next? It's not like my journey had always been that way, but I found many points where I would reach that point, where it would be weeks or months of feeling like I wasn't sure what I was meant to be doing. I felt myself going through a change and I wasn't sure who to show up as or what decisions to make. And I was just looking outside of myself for, please, something, tell me the answer. I think this is something that probably a lot of us can relate to, wanting permission, seeking for a sign or confirmation on our path and in all areas of our lives, because it's comforting. I know that when I'm feeling something or moving through something and I see a very specific sign that is associated with myself, a sign that I had set in place for the universe to communicate with me, it feels good. It's a relief, like, okay, I'm on the right path, I know what I'm doing. But too much of that, right? Because we need a balance. Too much of that can turn into avoidance in our lives, avoidance in our power and taking control of our lives. And if you're here listening to this message, it might be a sign for you, ironically, right? But ultimately, it's about what you do next that matters. The ultimate topic I want to cover here in this video is that at some point, the universe will just stop whispering and it will wait for you to move. I'm sure you've heard before the quote, the saying that often during a time of lesson, the teacher is quiet. And if we can integrate that perspective into our practice, we can break the loop of long periods of stagnancy or uncertainty. To stop placing our worth, our value, our confirmation, or permission slips in some sort of external guidance. And instead, we place the compass back inside of ourselves. I think in this world of instant gratification, we can oftentimes place constant seeking above our spiritual growth. I think a lot of it has been affecting people, and I know it affected me in my journey for a while with how accessible spirituality is these days. Constantly seeing signs or tarot readings or teachers' advice, practices shown on the virtual world, where we're constantly associating ourselves, our lives, or what we're going through with what we're seeing. And it can be helpful to see certain things as inspiration or to see something and it awakens a realization within you. But sometimes when it's so accessible, we're constantly seeing other people's journeys, we're constantly hearing advice, it kind of overrides our thoughts, our need to take action. We're constantly feeding our brain and we're not doing enough to move what we're receiving. My point with all of this is that I've definitely been there. I've done that. I've waited. I've wasted months waiting for something to move me forward, thinking that all of what I was integrating or learning within myself, all of the work I've been doing with my soul was just going to magically transition my external reality. It's fear wrapped in spirituality. And when we look at it that way, we can see what the answer is. The best way to overcome any type of fear is through devotional act to your soul and to your purpose, to your practice. And making a decision is an act of devotion to yourself. When you see life as choices, you see how many roads of opportunity are actually right in front of you. And no matter what way you're stuck, there is still a choice and decision that can be made in every present moment to change your reality, to take action, even in such a small way that can align with everything you've been holding within your mind. It's not in these grand moments that we have to take action, complete a whole project, completely redo our lives, for example, completely rearranging your whole house, but instead the tiny moments, the small moments of routines that we do differently to create consistency. It changes how you show up daily when you make those small decisions. For example, I have a choice in this moment. And I choose to show up to share messages that helped me in the hopes of helping others. I'm not just waiting for a sign of like, well, nobody directly told me they need to hear this message, so like, why would I do it? Rather, instead, I felt the importance within myself. I made a decision that it was important, and here I am. I think when we're looking at small actions, we don't realize how much they can actually change our lives. And a lot of it does boil down to how you're showing up in a moment. To think within yourself, well, I'm craving this one thing, I'm craving a life where I have a lot of money and I go to the beach a lot. I travel to all these tropical locations, and that's not my reality right now. So I'm just going to do the same old. No, you have a choice in that moment. You have a dream, a desire, and you think to yourself, that it's a form of manifestation. Okay, that's what I see for myself. That's the life I crave. So, it costs nothing. How about, it's not a beach, it's not a tropical resort, but every week I'm going to go to that lake. I'm going to go sit by that river and I'm going to kick my feet up and breathe in and enjoy that moment as if I was actually on this luxurious tropical vacation that I'm desiring. And how that small decision can really change your life. You become a magnet because like attracts like to actually what you do desire. And you didn't wait for a sign. You didn't wait for something to tell you, like, is that in my future? Will I be able to have these things in the future? Do I need to do this certain thing in order to make the money to get there? You're constantly waiting for a sign to confirm that you can have this thing you want. But instead, it's what you want. And you make a decision like, I want this. So I'm going to show up in any way I can to get me closer to that thing. Even if you're unsure of like, I don't even know what job I would want that would make me that money. I don't even know where I'd want to travel to, honestly. Like, I've never even looked into that thing. It doesn't matter how lost you are, how unsure you are, there's still a decision to be made. There is still something that you can do. It's honestly working with the energy of fire. Now, side note here, my chart is 90% fire sign. So in my own journey, I've had to look at a lot of different areas of my astrological chart and learned about the shadow aspect of fire, but also the positive aspects, the things that are empowering and motivating to learn how to work with my unique journey, my unique energy. Say that you're a person that is predominantly a water sign or an air sign. It may be your natural inclination to be more relaxed, right? Or maybe you have an easier time navigating your journey in a flow state. Maybe that's not difficult for you. But there is still a shadow aspect to everything. Is it maybe that you're so used to going with the flow, when anything doesn't flow for you, you completely shut down? And you can learn that aspect of yourself, learn how to name it, and then learn how to make decisions. It's kind of like inner parenting yourself. There's just this aspect within yourself that knows you so well that you know how to call out when you're waiting for a confirmation versus just taking the steps, taking and making action. For some women, this may not land with all of you, but for some women, and I've definitely faced this in an aspect of my journey before as well, but I felt like I needed to consistently be in a yin type energy in order to reach my fullest potential, thinking that I had to be in a flow state, that I had to be in a very surrendered state all the time in order to achieve the life I desired, or to be in kind of like a union with the universe where I always knew what to do, thinking that was possible, thinking that I could achieve an inner world that would just result in my external reality constantly giving me an answer of what's next. But the truth is, the symbol of yin and yang represents all that is. And we are a part of all that is. So that yang energy, that more go-getter energy resides within us and needs to be nurtured as well. This is why I love the symbolic nature of the scales, that there is always a duality to everything, to tap into both aspects of yourself in order to know how to guide your life, how to reach your full potential within your practice, within your magic, just within your being. If you're purely in a yin energy, which tends to be something I see a lot in spiritual communities, is residing in this kind of like laid back, trying to surrender and wait for guidance type energy, that puts you in a state of stagnation. And the opposite is true as well. If you're constantly in a yang type energy, you're constantly, which is true for people who may not be, there's all different kinds. I'm just talking generics here, but this is true for people who kind of aren't in a spiritual journey yet. They're very much a part of like societal norms, and they're constantly burning themselves out with like the work structure, the chores structure, the achievements you should have in your life, go to school, go to college, have this career, whatever, like just full steam ahead, constantly striving for something. That will burn you out as well. Our most empowered state is in harmony, is knowing how to work with all aspects of ourselves and to be able to call out when we're in too much of one energy for too long, or when we should know in what aspects to shift. And it's not really complicated. It's not as complicated as it may sound. Rather, it's just being honest with ourselves. And that's what it came down to for me. Everybody's journey, everybody's experience is different. But for myself, it was a moment of calling out, you know what? I know that I could be taking more action. I know that I could be making more decisions, and I'm just waiting for something. I'm just waiting because it feels easier to. And some of you may relate to this, but I knew in my journey that where that came from was from growing up in environments of people, around people who were very inconsistent. A lack of devotion is what was modeled to me rather than devotion and consistency and showing up. And that was part of my own unique generational kind of curse breaking. It's realizing that the next step wasn't revealed, it's chosen. And I grew up in environments where the people around me would say that like life was just happening to them, and they would complain about what was happening to them. But actually their reality was a product of never taking action, never trying to change their environment, never trying to change themselves, trying to make a decision for where they wanted to go. And so all of this came to me and just like a realization one day, like I was talking about before, just realizing I could be taking more action. So I decided to test it. I was like, you know what? I feel stuck. I feel stagnant. So why don't I just say to myself here now that maybe why everything's quiet is because I'm in a lesson. I'm meant to be making a decision rather than just feeling like I need to go into a hermit mode and rest, to just be waiting, which of course, there are aspects of our journey where we're meant to just rest. We're meant to just wait, especially when we're aligning ourselves with the seasons. In wintertime, you're going to naturally have a lot of like a desire to relax, sit back, as you should. But you'll know what I'm talking about when you're in these moments where you know that there's something that's meant to be happening. You're in an energy of, you feel like you're kind of in an energy of momentum, but with nowhere to put it, and maybe that's draining you. It's in those moments that we realize it's time to take action. It's time to make a choice. And this segues into kind of the 3 key aspects of our lives that it's important to look at and nurture each of these categories: mind, body, and soul. For those who are already in a spiritual journey, they tend to immediately go into work and kind of like studies or like practice with their mind and soul. But often, not always, but often, what's kind of put on the back burner is the body, whether that's health or what we're talking about here, which is taking action. It's important to remember that spirituality isn't just a mindset or an intention. The body must move. Physical action grounds our energy into reality. And this does tie into grounding work, protection work, the premise of our practices to keep us rooted. It does come from taking action, seeing the results of taking action in your reality. It ties back into our example before of whatever you're craving. Like if you did crave a reality where you're making a lot of money, you have a lot of abundance, and you're able to take these tropical vacations all the time. You're creating habits that embody that future now. You're living the frequency rather than just imagining it. That's a choice. And that's a decision built daily. So none of this is meant to stress you out or make you feel like you're lazy or you're not doing enough. Rather, it's a good thing to put in your back pocket to help you reflect in moments where you do feel stuck. Asking yourself truly, am I meant to just be resting right now? Or am I meant to be taking action, making decisions? Placing the element of fire, that torch, lighting it and placing it within myself, becoming the compass. In a world where we're built up with these structures where we go to school, the teacher tells us what to do, we have guardians, we have parents that tell us what to do, society pushes this religion where you're told what to do. Everything's already mapped out for you. In spirituality and witchcraft, we must learn how to place that torch within ourselves, to learn our inner world, learn our intuition, learn our habits, to know when it's time to take action, to create change, to move ourselves forwards. You don't need certainty, you just need commitment. So ask yourself, what's one decision you may be avoiding? What is one small habit that you could change today that could shift your energy today? And the funny part is oftentimes when we make a decision on our own, the universe responds to it. And only then is that really the confirmation we need. I truly hope that this message found somebody who may have needed to hear this today. Be sure to like this video and subscribe so that you can see more of my channel. I would love to connect with you guys. Please tell me how this resonated. Tell me a bit about your journey. My favorite part of the work I do is connecting with you guys. And if you'd like to dive deeper into your practice with the support of a community, I do have an online coven, the Scarlet Rose Coven, where we gather monthly to do sacred practices, self-care, and spell work. Scarlet Rose members also gain access to monthly workbooks, meditations, and you get to join our community Discord chat where you can ask questions, celebrate wins, just share your story. I'll put more details about that down in the caption below. And if you're ready to join us, you can head to the link in bio. Thank you for being here, witches. Much love.